Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just to reiterate, we're just going to wait a few minutes until we begin so that more folks can join us. Thank you. Hi there, everyone. I think we might be in a good place to start, Adam. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the first community presentation of our Chicago Works Community Challenge. We are excited to be presenting today some project submissions that are our semi-finalists for the Far South Planning District in the city of Chicago. We are thrilled to have these presentations. We, just as a recap, we started this process back in August, or back in June. Submissions closed in August, and we're here today for this first session. So we wanted to just do a little bit of background information before we begin the presentations for each of the projects. So Chicago Works Community Challenge is a $10 million community investment initiative. This came after the 2-year anniversary of Mayor Lightfoot's time in office. What we're looking to do is fund one project in each of the planning regions with up to $1.5 million. And if you see the map on the side there, the city of Chicago, for the purposes of city planning, is divided into 7 regions. And today, as you know, we're kicking it off here on the far south side. So the types of projects that are eligible for this investment have been identified by members of the community as either enhancements to public parks, to Chicago public libraries, to Chicago public schools, spaces that are available to the public outside, and also city-owned vacant lots that are residentially zoned. So the funding for all of this is coming from the Chicago Works Capital Plan, and will be distributed to either the city department or sister agency that is announced as the final project in each of these regions. This selection process has been going on since our applications closed back in August. So we had a citywide evaluation committee comprised of experts from each of the sister agencies, so Chicago Public Library, Chicago Public Schools, and the Park District, as well as staff from the Department of Planning and Development who work on vacant lots projects. And they scored each of the submissions based on whether the project was actually viable, could be accomplished, needs based in the communities, areas that this project would be serving, total cost of the project, the impact on the community, and as well as additional criteria. So the timeline for this is that we're hope these 7 selected projects will be announced by the end of this year. And the goal for us is to start breaking ground in 2022, and hopefully, some may be completed depending on the complexity of the project by the 4th quarter of 2022. So we're going to get into a little bit more about the details of what types of projects and the parts of it are eligible for this funding a little bit later on. So you can see here the recap of this project timeline. The applications launched in June. We had a webinar back on June 9th to kind of discuss with interested candidates, how this process would work. We convened an evaluation committee of, experts from each of the departments from June into August. Our application deadline was August 30th. We then went through an initial eligibility screening of all of the applications that were received. Then we had our expert in the committee review each application. And then at the end of September, we had a number of meetings to discuss and come to a consensus in terms of the finalists that we wanted to select for each of the regions. We announced the semifinalists on October 14th. And here we are today on October 19th with our first community engagement session and presentation. So we're going to be having the last of these meetings on November 9th. And then we're going to be going back to our evaluation committee to evaluate the feedback that we've received from these meetings, from a survey that you'll be able to take, and just general thoughts, from that group of people, and then hoping to announce the project finalists by the end of the year. So just as an overview of this entire process, we had over 500 submissions. Out of those 500, around 239 were vetted as complete enough to be evaluated for this process. 48 out of the 50 wards in the city of Chicago were represented in that as well. We had the largest number of projects was for vacant lots, followed by the Park District submissions. Those were the vast majority of these projects. And then by planning region, you can also see a breakdown here. The Southeast region had the largest number of applications, followed by the West, far South, North, Northwest, Central, and Southwest. So there's a few things about these projects. What we're talking about here is infrastructure. So infrastructure can be considered what we're calling like brick and mortar expenses. So examples of those would be playground equipment, park path replacements, field house improvements, or library space modernizations and projects. So some of these projects also had ideas that may be ineligible for this specific type of funding. Unfortunately, we're not able to fund costs related to programming. So that would be if there were specific ideas about, having an artist or a designer come in and work, in a kids camp or something like that. We can't fund that type of thing, or certain types of equipment as well are not eligible for this. So another example of that would be computers, furniture, or specific plants. And we're gonna have some question and answer session after each of these community presentations from the finalists, and then also at the end. So we can, if you have specific questions about this, hopefully get into that a little bit more down the line. each of the reviewers had a scoring rubric that they evaluated all of these projects based on. And this is at the department level first. So we had, classification. Is this property within the purview of your department and agency and the community challenge program? That was a yes or no. We asked about financial feasibility. Can this project be completed within the budget up to $1.5 million per project? Does this project propose capital improvements that are bond eligible? And that's the eligibility that we were just discussing on the previous slide. And so we had a ranking scale for that. After that, we moved into how feasible is this project on this site? So we asked, are there significant barriers to development on this site? Again, we had scoring based on that. We also talked about design feasibility. Can this project be completed and meets design excellence goals? So, we're really hoping that this is something that can have a significant impact on the community and, beautify the space or be an enhancement that really enhances the quality of life for the area. We also talked about operational feasibility. Would the project as described be manageable to maintain from an ongoing operational standpoint? Each of these projects is going to be going to, either the park district or the library or public schools. And, they have staffing concerns and maintenance concerns. So we also were looking at each of the applications from that perspective as well, to make sure that this is something that can be maintained as we're going forward. We also just in general asked them, is this project a strong addition to your department or agency's pipeline? And they gave us some free space. It was a free space to kind of provide additional commentary on each of these ideas. Other members of the evaluation committee who were representatives from the mayor's office, they were scoring on other aspects of this project. So we were looking at how complete and thorough is the application. We asked, did this applicant go and talk to members of their community? Was this idea well socialized? Was there evidence of, strong community interest in this project? We asked also about whether the neighborhood would be activated in a compelling way, and whether they made a good case for that in this process. And then we also asked about public use in terms of, what is the potential number of people that would be able to be impacted by this specific project. Each of the finalists for the Far South region included, we had a library, a school, and a park, which is very exciting to see that there's a wide array of projects that we're going to be discussing tonight. So I think, Adam, did you want to add anything else before we continue?
No, that was great. I think we're good to keep moving.
Great. So we are going to be asking each of the, let me stop 1 second so that I can see everybody here. We're going to begin first. These are in kind of random order, with folks from the Woodson Regional Library. And I'm going to first do a few slides about what was in the application, and then you'll be able to join the meeting and speak about your project specifically. So if you could raise your hand if you were the representative with the Woodson project that is going to be speaking. I believe Melvin, would you promote to panelist? Hello, Melvin. Are you there? Were you able to connect?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm
Great.
here, and here I am.
Did you have, was there anyone else you wanted to include before I go back to the slides?
No, not at this time, no.
Okay, let me go back to the slides. So for this project, it was for the Woodson Regional Library upgrades. Woodson Regional Library is at 9525 South Halsted. The sponsoring organization behind this is the Endaleo Institute, Inc. What they were interested in doing was improving the area around the computer space, making kind of infrastructure upgrades to this space. And Melvin, you can talk a little bit more about this when we get into it. You were interested in also adding more of a maker space to accommodate some of the library patrons. Specifically, you were looking to improve the computer area overall, enhance Wi-Fi connections, which I believe would be bond eligible as like an infrastructure item, and include more amenities in the areas. But just as a note to everyone, unfortunately, computers specifically themselves are not bond eligible. But when we spoke to the library staff, they seemed to not think that was a major issue. So I'm going to stop my share here. And Melvin, you have a few minutes to talk about your project.
Wow. Thanks. First up, right? Thank you, Gabriella. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melvin Thompson. I'm the executive director of the Endaleo Institute. We actually spearheaded the community-led $9 million restoration of the Woodson Library, which seems like forever ago. Back in 2018, it reopened. And one of the things that we absolutely stipulated was space for young people to create and be innovative. And so we were fortunate to get two things. The U Media space is actually adjacent to the computer area that we're talking about right now. And it is an amazing space. I have two young children that used to have to drive down to the downtown Harold Washington Library just to use that. And they're both accomplished artists and wound up being mentored. One of them wound up being mentored by Chance the Rapper, and he started doing all of these amazing open mic nights. So just the idea of bringing something that was downtown that I saw so catalytic and inspiring to young people, to bring it back on 95th Street was a major accomplishment. And then the second thing that we were able to do was get at least 2 3D computers. The problem is they're in like one-person rooms, and so you can only really get one person in there. And so we're really looking to combine the open area where those 200 computers are. And you're correct, Gabriella. We're good with computers. It's the space that we need to accommodate the users to create that kind of idea, that kind of atmosphere and environment for creativity, innovation, so that our young people on the far south side can be exposed to those kind of collaborative and personal projects that kids across the city are experiencing now. I think about the Googles and the Facebook and the, all of those places where the atmosphere is so laid back, and the furniture and everything is really conducive to thinking, right? Thinking and being creative. And that's the space that we're trying to open and just really engage young people, because for lack of a community center in the Washington Heights, Greater Roseland area, Woodson serves as that community center, a non-judgmental, welcoming, safe space for all people from across, young people, our children's library, and on the first floor to our young people. Woodson is the first dementia-friendly library. So we touch all sectors of the population. And we see, and we found this out during the renovation, that prior to the renovation, 26,000 plus patrons were actually making it through the library on a monthly basis. So when you talk about capacity and impact, we're impacting people across the entire city. And because Woodson is a feeder library, that means it feeds the other South Side branches, including the South suburbs. So we're actually a hub for all the other branches. And so what better space than to expand on what's already there, and really enlarge that area and invite kids from all across the South Side to engage in this creative behavior, and hopefully start to come up with solutions that are within our community right now, and come up with some innovative ways, because they live and breathe in these communities and they've got ideas that haven't been tapped. And so I think just the simple expansion of a space can do wonders for this regional library. And I look at this as a natural progression to the renovation. We improved the outer shell, the outside infrastructure, and now we're looking to improve the human infrastructure within those walls. And so we're really excited and thankful that we've made it this far.
Thank you, Melvin, so much. That I think was a great overview of the project. And as Adam mentioned, we want to hear questions from the audience that's joining us today. It would be great if you could put those questions in that Q&A box that you see on the bottom there. That's just easier for us to manage and keep up on all of the questions that are coming through. And so Leah, who is from the mayor's office, going to be kind of going through the Q&A.
Yes, so we have one question up right now. And the first is, what is the projected cost for this project? So I think as of right now, all projects are up to 1.5 million. And so our hope would be to use as much of that as required. But I don't know if Melvin, you have some more insight into how much you were expecting.
I do not. I'm sorry. I don't have, concrete numbers to give you in terms of the budget, but I know we're well within, the numbers to do what we think is quite feasible and can be done quite timely.
Yeah, Melvin, that's not a problem at all. And the city wouldn't have passed this project through as a semifinalist if we didn't believe that the project can be completed within that $1.5 million budget. So as of now, that's sort of the only thing we need to know. This project is the right scope and scale to be completed for the Community Challenge Initiative. If selected as the finalist, the Chicago Public Library will then work more closely with Melvin and other community stakeholders to really map out the itemized, line by line items. But at this point, all we need to know is that it's within the right scope and scale, which it is, and we don't have a more detailed budget at this point, and that's true across the semifinalist projects.
Yes. The second question is this presentation being recorded? And I believe it will be on YouTube. So Gabby can probably send the link out after as well, but it will be publicly posted, yes.
Yeah, it is right now on the Chicago DPD YouTube channel live streaming. So you could go to youtube.com/Chicago DPD. And we'll also include a link tonight to attendees so that you can share it broadly.
Those are the only two questions we have as of right now. Anyone else?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Melvin.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to send Melvin back to the attendee room.
Sorry, one more question popped up while we're transitioning. Is this grant part of Mayor Lightfoot's Healthy City 2025 campaign or any larger citywide campaign, or is it a standalone effort? I believe it is a standalone effort, but the goals of the Healthy City campaign and Invest Southwest, particularly focused on equity, are prevalent. So I think we have consistent goals throughout all the programs, but it is its own effort. What are the boundaries? Oh, we have a couple more questions. What are the boundaries of the project Mr. Thompson spoke of? So that would be Woodson Library, within the library itself. Is there a point in the project where the group that submitted the proposal will be segued out of the planning and decision-making process? So I think the departments will be working based on the proposals they provided, and we'll certainly get feedback from the community. Final decisions about feasibility and how the money is spent will be left up to the departments. Adam or Gabby, if you have anything to elaborate on those kind of rapid fire series.
No. Leah, are we ready for our next team?
Yeah, no more questions. Thank you all.
Great. So next up, we will be having the team from Matthew Galistel Language Academy. So if you would raise your hands so that we can pull you in, we'll do that momentarily. Looks like we're pulling in Rogelio shortly. Hello, Rogelio, are you there with us? You may have to unmute yourself to speak. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Mr. Lopez was going to join as well. He's our counselor. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm the principal.
Oh, we'll try. It looks like you have the same name on your thing, so I will promote 1 second.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce yourself just in the meantime?
Of course. So I just would like to, introduce myself to everyone. I am Kim Nelson, Dr. Nelson from Galistel Language Academy, and proud principal of the school. And I could tell a little bit about my partnership with the school and how long I've been here on the east side, just to give a little background information. Should I start with that now?
We can come back to that. I just want to make sure if Mr. Lopez was able to connect next.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
Thank you. I'm going to go back and share my screen, and then I'll do a brief overview, and then you'll have the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So as we were just saying, we're pleased to welcome the team from Matthew Galistel Language Academy. And they're interested in having a playground beautification project move forward. Galistel is at 10347 South Ewing Avenue. The sponsoring organization is the school and folks who are involved with the school. The areas that they're interested in improving, from their application, they said the site is only a playground for the school and contains 3 slides, 4 swings, and several benches. All have been damaged due to use and corrosion. The ground is largely filled with weeds and worn rubber mats. The playground is also in need of reimagining and perhaps some greenery as well. Details, in general, the school administration and parents have expressed concerns about safety on some of the older equipment and would like to have a safe space for the children to play in the environment that provides safe social interactions. So I'm gonna stop my sharing again, and the Glistel team, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Sir, first, I would like to thank all of the individuals involved in the Chicago Community Works Challenge. The time and effort needed to review all of these applications for this challenge is certainly recognized and much appreciated. The Glistel Language Academy is so grateful and honored to be recognized as one of the semi-finalists for this grant. Again, as I said earlier, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and just share a little bit of background information about myself. Again, my name is Kimberly Nelson. I've been a longtime resident of the East Side community. I've lived on 111th and Avenue D from the time I was born until about the age of 25. I'm also, again, the proud principal of Glistel and have been for 9 years now. Prior to being the principal, I started working at Glistel as a teacher in 1994. And then I served as the assistant principal of this school for 10 years after. So I definitely have the background information about the school and our strengths, but also our needs. We completed the application for the Chicago Community Works Challenge to request a new playground for our school. We decided to focus on this project for a number of reasons. To begin, each school year, approximately 600 students attend Glistel from pre-kindergarten through 8th grade. Our students use our existing playground each day for recess, gym, athletic events, and special community events. Additionally, our school serves as a hub for our community members. For this reason, the community uses our playground area after school hours, each weekday, and throughout the weekend as well. Though literally hundreds of children use our playground on a daily basis, it is a definite safety hazard. And frankly, this community deserves so much more. This is the reason that I've been pursuing the goal of a new playground in Glistel since I became principal in 2013. It is due to the serious safety issues with our current playground. Just to name a few issues, the slides are cracked, the metal is rusted, swings are missing, poles are no longer attached properly. Weeds have grown through all of the padding, as you were able to see in the pictures. And the padding, which should protect our children from falls, has now hardened and is quite abrasive. As a result, we often have injuries throughout the day, such as cuts, scrapes, bruises, when children fall on this padding. In fact, 2 first graders have already broken their arms since the start of the school year from falling off our monkey bars onto existing padding. This is just not acceptable for our students and our community members who use our facility. Again, I want to truly thank everyone for their time tonight and for allowing me and others the opportunity in the venue to express our concerns. And in particular for Glistel, this serious need for our school and our community. I know Mr. Lopez is on and he may want to say a few words. Also, our community member and our former LSE member was on, I thought, and she was going to say some words, but I'm not sure if she's able to still join. And that's Anna Garza.
Anna Garza. I do see her here. I can promote her to a panelist while you're here.
Okay. And Mr. Lopez, did you want to add anything before Ms. Garza joins?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nelson. This area that we're asking for, many of our students, our families utilize this area after hours. We have a lot of parents who used to volunteer at the school before remote learning. We also have a lot of staff members who give up their personal time. As you can see, Dr. Nelson is still in the building even now. Many of them like to use the space, and during the time the community is using that space, the small space that we have now, it's just like the previous person was talking about. Our parents get together and they socialize. They teach our students how to socialize. The students get to experience that, and they experience that with their community members within the school. If you know Gallisto has been a school in this area for a very long time. The building is old. It is a historical building in that area. We wanted to ensure that the students in that entire area, leading from Indianapolis all the way to 106, down to the bridges. If you know the east side of Chicago, it is an island within Chicago. And it's just got so much history. Iron workers of the Iron Age was built out of there. Susan Saldowski's own father was able to build some history there. But adding greenery to this area will be able to create that environment that we're hoping to help build not only the community, the social aspect, but to help our students grow into those young citizens that we want in Chicago, in an area that's controlled. Not just an area where we're just gonna throw some money in there, but a learning environment where it is being supported not only by the Gallisto staff, but the community itself. The Parent Advisory Council, the Bilingual Advisory Council, dedicated teachers who volunteer there over and over. So I'm just humbled, and I'm glad that that you all spent some time on this application and we're able to see the possibilities for this school.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Lopez. Ms. Garza, if you wanted to speak as well, briefly.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. Pardon my mask, but I'm not at home. I'm out in public. I just want to say thank you for considering Gallisto in some of these projects. I really hope that we're able to move to the next step, the next phase in this. I'd ask you to please remember our children. You know, Gallisto has always been a school that's been highly populated. And at one time we were in 3 buildings. They built a new school to alleviate the overcrowding, but it seems like we still have many, many students. So we're not understating anything when we say that this playground is highly used all day, every day, including weekends and after hours. And frankly, our children deserve better. The playground is in pretty bad shape, and children love to play, and they need to play every day. They need this type of unstructured activity. You know, it's good for their development. It teaches them skills later as adults, and they don't even know it. You know, they learn how to collaborate and play with each other. They learn leadership skills. So please, I just ask that you keep us in the forefront with all these projects, because we really deserve better for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. And we just wanted to move to some questions. Leah, were there any questions that came in?
Yes. So the first question is Gallisto a charter school or a CPS school? So I believe it is a CPS magnet school, but I don't know if Principal, you can elaborate a little bit.
It is a CPS school.
Wonderful. Second question is there any talk of your school closing within the next 5 years?
No.
Okay,
we're
great.
Again, our enrollment is high,
Yeah.
and it's about, we have all that we can take into our school currently.
Mm-hmm. So this gets to the next question, which is what is the total student capacity? And I think maybe what Carol is getting at is how utilized is the school right now? compared to the capacity,
Or over capacity.
over capacity.
We don't have teacher lounge. We don't have, every available space is being used.
It might be helpful. Also, do you have a number of how many students are currently enrolled? Just, I feel as though that might be helpful.
It's, I want to say it's 590. It's almost 600, but 590. I don't, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Those were everything in the Q&A. Maybe we can give people maybe one more minute because I feel like a couple flooded in towards the end. Oh, here's one. Some schools have done away with playgrounds due to liability. My guess is that the question there is, what are their thoughts on that, and how would the improvements factor in if there maybe is an increased liability around playgrounds?
I'll just say that it's to go on the playground and on the play set is part of our almost an expectation for our students, as long as the playground is safe. Our pre-K program, they do inspect our playground, and they have from downtown, and they have expressed concerns because our pre-kindergarten students, and we do have 3 classrooms, we have 3 classrooms at every grade level, are expected to go outside on a daily basis to use that area. So, so I don't expect, I would hope that they would not take away the playground and the play set, because it is really important for the development of our children.
Okay, great. No questions right now. Thank you so much. And we'll have another question period at the end, so we can
Thank
save
you.
it until then.
Yeah, thank you so much to the Galistal team. We really appreciate you taking the time tonight to speak to all of us. So I'm going to send you all back to the attendees room, and we'll be moving on to our last group, which is going to be Park 581. So if those folks who are going to be speaking want to raise their hands, I'll pull you in as soon as I'm able. Okay, I believe we've pulled in 2 so far. Hello, Mr. Doyle, Ms. Ross. Is there anyone else I should be pulling in as well for your group?
I think it's just the 2 of us.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go back to share my screen quickly, and then we'll come back to this group. Okay, so we're on our last presentation, which is Park 581 improvements. The property is at 11625 South Oakley Avenue. The sponsoring organization for this project is the Park 581 Park Advisory Council. And some of the things that they're interested in improving, Park 581 is currently without structures, and it is an unmarked open grassy field. One significant safety concern is that there's only paved sidewalk exists on the west side of the park, and patrons must use the street on the southeast and west sides of the park. So there is some concern about access and just safety there. And then details about the project. They're interested in installing lighting to complement a soft surface, an inner perimeter walking path. They would also like to build 2 community gardens on the north and south ends of the field for residents and local grade schools to use, and also install several outdoor exercise apparatuses. So with that, I'm going to send it back to the park team for you to just share your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Mike Doyle, and I'm president of the Park 581 Advisory Council. And we want to thank the city and the mayor, Lightfoot, for undertaking this initiative and selecting our proposal as a semifinalist. I'm going to make a short presentation about Park 581 and then turn it over to Jill, who'll give a presentation about our proposal. Even though the open space at 116th and Oakley has been a key feature in our community for several decades, it's only officially been a park for the last 5 years, since 2016. It originally was donated to the Chicago Public Schools for educational purposes, and it was mostly an unimproved green space. Then in 2016, a developer tried to purchase the land from CPS for development. But the residents rallied against the proposal, and together with our Alderman Matt O'Shea, they successfully killed the project and negotiated a land swap with the Chicago Park District, rezoned the land as a park. Unfortunately, although Park 581 is a cherished open space in our neighborhood, it's never received any substantial investment as a park. And I'd like to turn it over to Jill to give a short PowerPoint presentation about some of our concerns and how we're reimagining Park 581. Jill?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I piggyback on Mike's words to invite us into this, and that we are very grateful that we made it to this round. Gabriella, I'm not very tech savvy, so I don't know how to bring this video into the.
There should be a share screen button that you can see at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
And then, and that looks like your presentation, correct?
Oh, yeah. Okay, great.
Okay.
So this first slide shows the perimeter of our big grassy field. This area here, I don't know if you all can see where I'm rolling, but along the left side, along the right side of the screen, none of that has a sidewalk on it. So everyone who visits our park is in the street. And right now this sits on 8.74 acres. We're located in the 19th Ward. This space, just to piggyback again on Mike, this space has never been developed. And we are located in what's known as the Morgan Park community. Currently, we have no walking paths, we have no lighting, no stretching apparatuses, no playground equipment, no community gardens, and no even sodding. So when you walk along this open field, it's not unusual that your foot will go into a pit because it's very uneven, which is a safety concern because we have so many seniors in our community. Ideally, what we reimagine the park as being is a place where people can jog on a soft pavement, where they can walk, where families can ride their bikes. We have in our immediate area of our park, we have both Smith Village and Bellhaven Senior Citizen home. So we have a lot of seniors. They do have access to the neighborhood outside of it. They're not limited to just staying inside. And a lot of them come and walk around this field. Unfortunately, quite often they're walking in the streets and cars are zooming past, and it becomes, again, a very unsafe circumstance. We want to be able to accommodate people who live with different abilities in our community, children and adults. And as far as the community garden, we would like to be able to have experiments here that schools and citizens who live in the community can use, as well as utilize the space with some different type of innovative exercise equipment, stretching equipment. Stretching is as important to seniors as exercise is to children, and we want to make sure that everyone can be accommodated. A lot of people walk their pets in the community, and even though we can't have it designated as a pet park, we would like to get some supports up there for people who do walk their animals, like a place to put poop, to make sure we have the right signage and that type of thing. The other big concern is that because we have no lighting, people who walk in the evening, like now it's dark early with the winter months coming in, they feel unsafe and vulnerable, and cars, if they don't have their headlights on, if they're not bright, we don't see people, we risk people getting hurt and injured. And this last slide is just a couple shots of some seniors who walk daily, people who walk their animals, and they're walking in the street because, again, there is no sidewalks. to support safety in the park. So just to recap, right now we are currently have a space with no walking paths, no lighting, no stretching apparatuses, no playground equipment, no community gardens, and no sodding. And then there's another, I guess I take this down. I'm sorry if I'm not doing this right. I'm trying to bring in another, just real quick presentation here, right here. Okay. Can you all see that? No?
I can't at the moment, no.
Okay, let me try it this way.
Oh,
Can you
There it is.
yeah, now I can see it.
Okay. So this is just a short,
I would love to see a walking area as well. Right now it's not safe with all the cars. I also wouldn't mind a development area for the kids to be able to play. We have kids in the neighborhood that have to walk all the way to Kennedy Park.
I've been walking around 20 years here, and to make a safe environment, because part of it has sidewalks and some of it doesn't, and so I'd love to see a great walking path.
Oh, wow. Well, we love walking with our granddaughter, so having a path all the way around and maybe some lighting in the evening would be wonderful.
Well, I would like a walking path, because right now my neighbor and I, we are walking down to 95th Street just to get in our miles.
I would love to see a path.
okay, thank you. That was our presentation. In addition to that, since COVID and during the whole time that everything was pretty much locked down, our alderman was very, very instrumental in encouraging people, along with the mayor, to get out, to walk the community. And we want to make sure that when people walk, that they're safe. Walking was a big part of mental health, and we want to continue to encourage people to come out and enjoy these open spaces and just have community interfacing like that. So yeah, that's our presentation. And thank you again so much for allowing us to present tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have a couple of questions. And has there been any discussion about naming this park? So I actually do not know that. That might be a question to be forwarded to the Parks Department. So I can make a note of that. I don't know if Gabby or Adam.
Mike, do you have any, Mike or Jill, any?
Yeah, so there has been a
questions?
lot of discussion. You know, one of the things that's been so exciting about this effort is it's really brought the community together. People have been coming out to meetings the last few months and talking about it, getting excited about it, getting engaged in it. And one of the things that has come up is that there's been talk about naming the park. You know, it's historically been referred by the people in the neighborhood as the Prairie. So it could be that, it could be something, there's been a number of names that have been tossed around of who it would be named after. But I think part of what it would reflect is that there's been a lot of desire to bring the community together around this space and really have an impact and improve the life of everyone who lives here.
Great, thank you. There's another question that came up in the chat. Who would maintain the gardens, and is there an organization that would partner, whether school entity and whatnot? So I think the city and the Parks Department traditionally partners with Neighbor Space to create the garden and maybe do a little bit of ongoing maintenance. I do think that the Parks Department would lean on the community to help with that ongoing maintenance and use of the garden. Gabby and Adam, I don't know if you have more thoughts first, and then also Jill and Mike.
Sorry, I was muted. That was the same information that we did receive when we inquired about the maintenance of the space. St. Walter's School, which supplied us with one of our support letters, is very interested in helping that and incorporating a community garden into science projects, math projects, as far as measuring and soil samples. There's just a way artistically, scientifically that a community garden could definitely enhance community as well as educationally.
Great, thank you. And there are a few other comments about supporting the park and excited about a walking path and maybe a shade structure. So I see those comments as well, and thank you so much. Would public schools be interested in using the area as well? I don't know, Mike and Jill, it sounds like you've talked to public schools a little bit about this.
Yes, Morgan Park High School is a few blocks away, so it's probably not something that the high school kids will necessarily be hanging out. But it attracts a lot of the schools in the area, use the field for soccer, for lacrosse, various sort of field activities. Unfortunately, it's just not in the kind of condition that it really encourages that. So schools are often, I know over the summer, there was some kids trying to go to Marist High School to use their fields because the field here wasn't in the best of condition. So I think that's something that we'd like to have more of. St. Walter's that Jill mentioned is right across the street. It's not a CPS school, but there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood go there and would like to use the park also.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other specific questions. I think, Gabby, we could start opening it up to general questions.
I think we have a few more slides just to
Oh,
go
sorry.
through at the end here before we get to that, correct, Adam? Let me just do that. Going back.
There is another question that popped up about whether or not public schools have indicated interest in using the gardening for educational programming. Mike or Jill, any interest?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, sure. So with regards to public school interest, has there been any interest in using the garden as an educational program or the educational aspect of gardening?
As far as interest, I would have to say interest in that many of the kids in the community do attend public schools and they will certainly have access to it. We did reach out to Ag School as well as Morgan Park High School, but we did not get a response. I think we sent out our query letters to them or support letter requests for them the same time that we were gathering our final paperwork to submit to meet the deadline. So since that time, we have heard from other schools, some private daycare centers in the area, but the school is here for the community and to support everyone. So that's who we would welcome.
Sounds good. Thank you. I think that is all the questions right now.
Great. So just let me run through a few of these final slides really quickly.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you. So the next steps in this process are, we want your input as part of this. So we will ask for individual input through a post-meeting survey. This survey will be available on the Chicago Works website as well for others to distribute. We're going to ask your input on some of the criteria that has been used to score it. So questions like, would the project lead to greater community activation? And would the project be heavily utilized by the public? And then survey participants will also be able to provide additional comments in this as well. And then we just had a quick appendix here.
Gabby, we don't need to hold the Park 581 folks hostage as a.
Okay, let me
panelist.
just wrap this up here and then I'll come back to them. 1 second, sorry. Unless you want to can you send them back to as attendees?
Oh, that's true. I could probably figure that out. Thank you both for your time and for the thoughtful presentation.
Yeah. And then these are photos from Woodson Regional Library. As you can see, a lot of improvements could help that space be more engaging. Here's a few more photos of kind of the condition currently for the Gallistel playground. And also, clearly we, could use some improvements as well. And then some photos as part of Park 581. So I believe that's the end of our PowerPoint presentation. We're happy to kind of answer some questions as they come in here.
Yeah, absolutely. A few other questions. One about a wet.
Oh, Leah, looks like you may have,
Additional improvements to the location selected. Oh, sorry, did I freeze for a second?
I think you froze for a second. Yeah, you sound okay now though.
So in terms of improvements that are beyond the scope of the proposal, I think the goal would be to start funding and provide those 1.5 millions in their entirety for whichever proposal wins. But the Parks Department is certainly, and every department here is certainly working with the community and using some of these suggestions to populate their bank of projects. So that's not to say that there can't be a wetland investment in the future, but we're trying to limit improvements to the scope of the project specifically. This one good question that came up is what is meant by greater community activation versus being utilized? And I'll weigh in on my answer, but would also love to hear Gabby and Adam. So I think greater activation extends beyond the park or library or vacant lot or whichever, and really lends itself to how this specific investment can have broader effects in the neighborhood. Whereas being utilized is really about who or how many people are actually going to and using the specific invested spot. So I don't know, Gabby and Adam, if you have more while I dig through the chat.
No, I think that's correct. You know, activation is kind of more from a plannery type of term where you're talking about, you know, whether something is an anchor in a community and can encourage other types of activities to kind of go around the entire area. So, you know, it's more just about, does it increase, you know, feelings of well-being, feelings of public safety, than just, as we were talking about, like specific use overall.
Another question that came up, Adam, if you have thoughts, can more than one project be selected if the cost for both is less than 1.5 million?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're not going to be awarding more than the initial number of projects that we announced as possible through this community challenge, which is 7 projects, 1 in each of the 7 planning districts. So we will have 1 project awarded in the far south region. What I'd say to that question, though, is that particularly for the 21 semifinalists we selected, these projects have been vetted quite heavily by departments and agencies across the city and vetted as very financially feasible, very operationally feasible, and demonstrating a real community need. So even if a project isn't ultimately funded through the community challenge, these projects are now all on the radar of the different departments and agencies who control these properties, and hopefully will be sort of embedded in their investment roadmap in the upcoming months and years. So even if this won't end up being the funding source, these community-driven ideas have really changed the shape of the roadmap across parks, libraries, and schools for how they're planning to improve their properties over the coming years.
Great. So a couple questions around additional information provided. So the first is, will there be another round of presentations? No, I don't believe so. I think this would be the one presentation and it'll be recorded. And after this and the survey are over, we'll choose the finalists. The other question is, are there opportunities to provide more information outside the survey and these meetings? And I'd say right now that the survey is pretty broad and has open-ended questions for additional comments or concerns. So hopefully all of that can be fit through the survey. Adam or Gabby, if you have any other thoughts on how information is being disseminated or collected.
Yeah, the survey's the best route. That's the most formalized route. And we're going to be sharing those survey results with evaluation committee members who are going to be the ones ultimately making the final decision. So they'll be able to see that feedback directly from the community and have it in mind when ultimately making a final selection within the broader criteria framework that Gabby outlined earlier.
Yes, great. Thank you. And yes, the link to the survey we will put in the chat. And then there is one question about an environmental concern at 116th. I think that is probably project specific. And if you have concerns about that, I think the survey is probably the best way to communicate those concerns, and we'll make sure that the relevant departments take a look at that. Slides also will be shared. So all the information I think that you've seen on this presentation will be disseminated after. And as Gabby mentioned, you can watch the entire thing as many times as you want on YouTube. I'm looking, I don't see, I appreciate all the comments for support. I think we have broad support across all of the projects, so I won't go through and read them all, but it's great to see so much excitement and enthusiasm for all of these. I think that they are all wonderful projects that will do the community a great deal of good.
And I just wanted to add on what Leah was mentioning is that, you know, this is going to be a process where even once a project is selected, there's going to be conversations with the final selecting team and the park district or the Chicago Public Schools or Chicago Public Libraries, or there are no vacant lot projects in this group. So those are the main sister agencies that would be involved. And, you know, we're gonna, at that point, be getting into like the really nitty gritty details about, you know, what is possible, what is not quite possible, you know, what's a little bit beyond the current scope of what can be accomplished with these funds, with them being bond eligible, which is a specific type of funding from the city. So, you know, I think that these ideas are going to be really shaped very heavily after this process is done, so that we have a deliverable, you know, experience and product that is a great addition or enhancement to these communities. So there will be more on the other side of this this whole process as well. Do we have any other questions, or that looks great?
No, I don't believe so. Anything else that might come up? Again, as Adam mentioned, the survey is the best place to communicate that information to us.
Yes. So just to recap, thank you all to all of the semifinalists so much for your time this evening. I know you had a very quick, short turnaround in terms of getting prepped for this presentation tonight. So we really appreciate you, you know, taking the time to be part of this. We wish you all the best of luck in this process, and you know, we're really excited to kind of see where we go next. And with that, I think we're good for the evening. So please take the survey. You'll be able to share the video, and we will send up a follow-up email probably tomorrow morning at this point with all this that you can also share with your friends, family, and community members. So thank you again.